I want you to help me welcome Marco Rubio. Marco.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, I played football in a small little college in Missouri. There are more people here than at any of those games. So thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to be with you. I'm so excited to be back. Thank you, Congressman. I want to thank all of you. Look, when we drove up, I saw people walking down the street. It took time to get here. You've been waiting for us for a few minutes. I am grateful that you came here today. And I am glad to be back with you. And I'm excited about Tuesday. And I want to thank you for your support because we are on our way to turning this country around in 2016. We need to offer this country a clear alternative to the last 8 years, and we will when I am our nominee, thanks to your help. But first we have to win this primary. And this primary has been an interesting ride, and we're going to talk about it a little bit here today. Yes. Now look, I want to be frank with you. You deserve the truth about what's happening. Here's what's happening. Our party today, after 4 states have voted, according to all the polls, is on the verge of being taken over. The party of Lincoln and Reagan is on the verge of being taken over by a con artist named Donald Trump. Now, how do con artists work? Here's how a con artist works. A con artist identifies people who are struggling and convinces you that they have something that will help turn that around. Okay? And Donald Trump has done this before. He had a school, it wasn't even a school, he had a thing called Trump University. And what he would do is they would go to people who were looking to make more money. I mean, they've been calling our office nonstop after the debate. I mean, literally, emails, phone calls from people. We're talking to a lot of them. You're going to be hearing from some of them very soon. People who paid as much as $35,000 because they were told that Donald Trump, this great real estate genius, was going to give them all the secrets to making money. So they paid a lot of money for these courses. They were told, max your credit card. You can make even more money if you sign up for the gold course or whatever it is. And they did. And at the end of the process, the only thing they got was a little paper, a certificate, and they got to take a picture with a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. That's what they got. Okay? That is called a con job. Okay? That is what he is doing now to millions of Americans. Millions of Americans who are hurting. People are struggling. You know it. You're struggling. Some of you are. You're working as hard as you ever have and you're running in place. You have trouble moving ahead. You have trouble getting ahead and because the world has been unfair, because the economy's gone upside down. And here comes this guy and tells you, I am going to help you turn this around because I've been very successful in business. Not really. He inherited millions of dollars. If he had taken those millions of dollars and put them into the stock market, just like a normal person would do, just into the stock market, he would have more money today than Warren Buffett. But instead, he invested it in hotels that went bankrupt. He bankrupted a casino. How do you bankrupt a casino? The house always wins. Here's what's not funny about that. Anytime he bankrupted a business, the people who paid the price were the contractors he had hired. We're also hearing from them. I'm telling you, they are calling nonstop small businesses that did work, and he pulled his money out, and he did what he needed to do, and they never got paid. He is not some great businessman. He's taken 4 companies into bankruptcy. You ever heard of Trump Air? It's gone. 4 casinos bankrupt in Atlantic City. He is not some genius. He is a guy that inherited hundreds of millions of dollars. And had he invested in the stock market, he would have been better off. He says to people, I am going to take on illegal immigration. He's the only one running for president that's ever hired illegal immigrants to work for him. He hired Polish workers to help on Trump Tower. Oh, no, wait, he's going to protect you from immigrants taking your jobs. Well, why is he hiring foreigners to do the jobs at his hotels that Americans are trying to get? And he's hiring foreigners to do the job. He's fighting for the little guy. The little guy are the people that he's cheated the whole time that he's been in business. Time and again, it is a con job. He puts himself out, oh, I'm strong. I'm a strong leader. The other day he told the protester, I'm going to punch you in the face. He has never punched anyone in the face. Never punched anyone in the face. Okay? He is a guy that's been protected his whole life and privileged his whole life and insulated his whole life. Nothing tough about any of that. This is a massive fraud that he's perpetuating. Here's the problem. The stakes are not just a fake degree. The stakes are giving control of the party of Lincoln and Reagan, of the conservative movement, and ultimately of the United States over to a con artist. That will not happen. I make this promise to you today. I will do whatever it takes. I will campaign as long as it takes. I will stay in this race as long as it takes. Donald Trump, a con artist, will never get control of this party. And the time has come for you. I know some of your friends have bought into this. Listen, friends, don't let friends vote for con artists. It is time to open our eyes. It is time to open our eyes. We cannot allow a con artist to get access to the nuclear codes of the United States of America. It's a big fraud. And it's time to open our eyes, and we will in the days and weeks to come. I'm confident of it. Now, what happens when you attack Donald? He goes on Twitter. You guys want to have a little fun today? All right. All right. Well, last night he actually was pretty calm after I punched him around a little bit. I think he's learning how to spell, I guess somebody said here. But he's flying around on Air Force One and tweeting. So here's the one tweet he put out. He put out a picture of me having makeup put on me at the debate, which is amazing to me that a guy with the worst spray tan in America is attacking me for putting on makeup. Donald Trump likes to sue people. He should sue whoever did that to his face with that. All right? So, let's move on, because this is an important election. Why am I so fired up about this? It's not just because I want to save the country from a con man. It's not just because I want to save the party from a con artist, but because this election is so important for our future. What is at stake here is not just who the next president's going to be. What is at stake here is what kind of country is America going to be in the 21st century. And we have a chance to make this country better than it has ever been. But that is not the road we are on right now. That is not the road we are on right now. The last 8 years have placed us on a road that will leave us as the first Americans, who will leave our children worse off than ourselves. And that's the road we're going to stay on if we nominate someone who cannot win. If you nominate a con artist, I promise you the media will take him apart. Listen, watch the media coverage of Donald Trump. They're laying off him. There's two reasons why they're laying off him. One, I'm convinced some of these reporters are scared of him, because they're scared of all the Twitter hate that they get when they say something nasty about him. But I think the bigger reason is because they're just licking their chops. They're just waiting for him to be the nominee. The day he is the nominee, which of course is never going to happen, they are going to tear him to shreds. And by the way, the Democrats are being gleeful about it. They know if I'm nominated, we're going to win. They attack me more than anyone else in this race. The Democrats attack me more than anyone in this race because they know that if I'm nominated, we will win. Because we will unite this party and we will grow it. But they're holding back, and they know that if we nominate Donald Trump, they're going to win. And they just can't wait to shred him, and they will. We cannot afford to lose this election. Because if we stay on the road we're on right now, if Bernie Sanders is elected president, we will... Bernie Sanders is a socialist. Now, usually when you call someone a socialist in American politics, they get mad about it. Bernie says it in his commercials. He's a socialist. We don't want to be a socialist country. If you want to live in a socialist country, move to a socialist country. We want to be America. Hillary Clinton is unqualified to be president of the United States. Hillary Clinton is unqualified to be the president of the United States because she took classified information, put it on her email server because she thinks she's above the law. No one is above the law. And Hillary Clinton is disqualified from being commander-in-chief. Because on September 11th of 2012, 4 Americans died in the service of our country in Benghazi, Libya. And she knew that they died because of a terrorist attack. And she told their families it was because of a movie. Anyone who lies to the family of Americans who have lost their lives in the service of our country can never be the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America. We cannot lose this election. We cannot lose this election, and if you nominate me, we will not lose this election. Because unlike anyone left in this race, I will unite this party. We don't have to agree on everything. We agree on most everything, and we will come together. And we won't just come together, we will grow this party. We will take our message to people that don't vote for us now. People who live the way I grew up. People living paycheck to paycheck. People struggling with the cost of student loan debt. Like I had student loan debt, over $100,000 of student loan debt. Yeah, don't clap for student loan debt. It's not a good thing. I have never met her, but I paid Sally Mae a lot of money. Someone asked me if I'll be their prom date. When is the prom? I don't know. The last time I went to the prom, I had a really tacky tuxedo on. I don't know if you want. A long time ago. When is the prom? March 12th? I think that's after the primary, but I may come back anyway and do the prom. What do you think, huh? We are going to win this election because we will take our message to people that don't vote for us. We'll grow it and we'll win. And then we have so much work to do. When you make me president of the United States for the first time in 8 years, you are going to have a president that follows the Constitution of the United States of America. A president that defends your First Amendment right to live out the teachings of your faith in every aspect of your life. A president that defends your Second Amendment right to protect yourself and your family. And a president who believes that our solutions are not found in a big federal government. They are found in our homes and in our communities, and if it's even found in government, it's at the state level, not in Washington, D.C. For the first time in 8 years, you're going to have a president that follows the Constitution. And that means on my first day in office, in my first moments in office, I will cancel every single one of Barack Obama's unconstitutional executive orders. Every one of them. When you make me president, we are going to have a president that embraces a free economy. Free enterprise works. I know it because my parents were not rich people. My father was a bartender and my mother was a maid. And the reason why they had a job is because free enterprise works. Because someone who had access to money risked that money to open up a hotel and hired them. Free enterprise works because it is the only economic model in the world where you can make poor people richer and you don't have to make rich people poorer. We are going to save free enterprise. We're going to fix our tax code. I have a plan out there to do that. We are going to roll back these crazy regulations that come out of the federal government. We are going to save Social Security and Medicare and balance our budgets. We are going to fully utilize the energy resources that God has blessed America with. And we are going to repeal and replace Obamacare once and for all. When I'm president of the United States, you will have a real commander-in-chief, not like the weak one that we have right now. The world has become a very dangerous place. There is a lunatic in North Korea with nuclear weapons. And some would say a lunatic trying to get a hold of nuclear weapons in America, but that's different. We have a lunatic in North Korea with nuclear weapons. We have the Chinese government taking over the South China Sea, building up their military, stealing our inventions, and making Donald Trump's ties. And hats. Yeah. It's amazing. He's going to bring back jobs from overseas, but he makes all his tacky clothes in China and in Mexico. In Russia, Vladimir Putin is sowing instability in the Middle East and in Europe. You have, in the Middle East, Iran about to get $100 billion of sanctions relief, which they're going to use to buy or build a nuclear weapon. And then you have radical Islamic jihadists spreading all over the world, including, especially this group ISIS, that now finds itself in over a dozen countries. And in the face of this dangerous world, the president is gutting our military. We will soon have the smallest army since the end of World War II. We will soon have the smallest Navy in 100 years, and we will soon have the smallest Air Force in our entire history. How can it be that the world is growing more dangerous and our military is growing smaller and weaker? And how unfair is that to our men and women in uniform, who we're putting in harm's way, but with older and less equipment, with less training and less people alongside them, and by the way, with rules of engagement that do not allow them to win. All of that will change when I am president. But because when I am president of the United States, we are going to undertake a Reagan-style rebuilding of the U.S. military. When I'm president of the United States, we are going to have a real war on terror, not this fake war on terror that's going on right now. The best intelligence agencies in the world are going to find them. The best military in the world is going to destroy the terrorists. And if we capture any of these terrorists alive, they are not getting a court hearing in Manhattan. They do not have the right to remain silent. And we're not bringing them to Georgia. They're going to Guantanamo. When I'm president of the United States, our allies will know that we're their allies. Okay? The other night at the debate, we had this discussion about Israel, the only pro-American, free enterprise democracy in the Middle East. The only one. And Donald Trump said, well, I'm going to be neutral about it. I'm not going to be neutral. I am on Israel's side. I am on Israel's side. I'm laughing because somebody brought a boot with a high heel. I didn't wear those today. Soon enough, they'll be back. Don't worry. I'm going to be on Israel's side. And you know how the world's going to know that? Because on my first day in office, I will cancel Barack Obama's deal with Iran. On my first day in office. And we are going to take care of our veterans. If you are a veteran here today, will you raise your hand so we can thank you? We want to thank you for what you've done. God bless our veterans. God bless our veterans. We're not taking care of our veterans now. I know this because my brother, for example, is a veteran. In 1968, he volunteered. He joined the Army. He became a Green Beret in the 7th Special Forces. One day he jumped out of a plane and knocked out his teeth. And every few years now he has to go back to the VA with a dental claim. And it's always a hassle. It's always asking the question, well, how do we know this happened in the Army? And he says, well, it's the only time I ever jumped out of a plane. They got a train going right through my event. Isn't that awesome? Honk the horn. Yeah. I'll tell you guys, I told you the Democrats will stop at nothing to keep me from winning this election. So, we are going to take care of our veterans because, look, the other day, USA Today, at the top of their headlines, it said, calls to the VA suicide hotline went to voicemail. No one gets fired over this stuff. They will when I'm president. If you're not doing a good job at the VA, you'll be fired. When I'm president, our veterans will be able to take their benefit to any hospital or any doctor that they want to go to. Let me say one more thing about our veterans. You can never say enough about them. So many of our veterans don't stop serving when they come back to America. You go to any fire station in America, you go to any police department in this country, and you will find veterans serving us. And by the way, I am sick and tired of reading all these articles about how bad the police are, this, that. Let me tell you something. I want to thank our law enforcement and our police officers for what they do for us. We can never thank them enough. Look, we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to be done, but first we have to win, and we will. We will. Because I believe this country is going to get it right. We always have, and we will again in this generation. For me, this idea that America is a special country is deeply personal. I know America is special because part of the reason why I know it so deeply is I was raised by people that knew what life was like outside of America. I believe that sometimes when you live here your whole life the way I have, sometimes it's easy to take it for granted. You think that this is the way it is all over the world. It isn't. In almost every country in the world, your future depends on who your parents are. If your parents were wealthy, if your dad left you a lot of money, if your parents are politically connected, in most countries on earth, you got to succeed. If they weren't, you were stuck. Imagine for a moment living in a country that says to you, it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter how long you try, it doesn't matter how good you are. You are only allowed to go so far because you don't come from the right people. Well, that's foreign to us. Literally and figuratively, as Americans, we can't comprehend that. But that's the way life has been for almost everyone that's ever lived. In almost every nation on earth, that is what life is like now, but not here. This has been a special place, and I know that personally. My parents came here in 1956 from the island of Cuba, and they had nothing. I think there's 4 Cubans here. I just heard 4 or 5 Cubans there. Someone has a Cuban bread bag over there. Yeah. Where's the bread is what I wonder. That the Cuban bread bag, there's no bread in there. All right. They came here in 1956. My parents, when they got here, they barely spoke any English. The first words my father learned in English were, "I'm looking for a job." Okay? They had no money. They didn't have much of an education, but they were willing to work really hard, and it was hard for them. Years later, my parents admitted to me they were discouraged when they first got here. They were discouraged because they were trying and they couldn't get ahead, and they even wondered if they had made a mistake. At one point, they even thought about, maybe we should go back to Cuba. You can't imagine how glad I am they didn't go back to Cuba. I may never have been born, because I wasn't even born until they were in their 40s.
Yeah, but you did to see Obama.
And so, my parents were discouraged, but they persevered. Here's the truth about America and the American miracle. Less than 10 years after my parents came here like that, my father at that point was a bartender on Miami Beach. That's all he was. And they bought a home in a safe and stable neighborhood. For years to come, they would work hard. My parents worked well into their 70s, but they were able to retire with dignity and with security. People say, you don't come from success and privilege. They're wrong, I do. I come from extraordinary privilege. I come from 2 parents who were married to each other, who love their children, and who raised us to believe in the American dream. And my parents were not rich. And my parents were not rich, and my parents were not famous, but my parents were successful. You know why? Because they lived to see all 4 of their children live a life better than their own. What my parents achieved has a name. It's called the American dream. And that's not just my story. As Americans, that is our story. There are thousands of people here right now. And I don't know all of your stories. I know very few of your personal stories, but I know that you're Americans. And because you are Americans, I know that you come from a story not unlike that one. In this country, we are all a generation or 2 removed from someone who face circumstances of difficulties. From someone who made your future the purpose of their lives. We are all a generation or two removed from grandparents that made extraordinary sacrifices for your parents. We are all a generation removed from your parents, your father that worked 2 jobs. Not live off the government, your father that worked 2 jobs. We are all a generation removed from a mother who made incredible sacrifices so you could live out the dreams that became impossible for her. Or maybe that's what you're doing now. Maybe you are here today because you are working hard. Maybe you're working 2 jobs. Maybe you work during the day and you go to school at night because you want all the things that never happened for you to be possible for your children. And the reason why I tell that story is because that is what makes us different. That is what makes us special. Every country in the world has rich people. We celebrate success in this country. Someone is financially successful, we celebrate it. We don't look down on it and we don't demonize it the way Barack Obama does. But that's not what makes us special. Every country in the world has rich people. What makes us special are the millions of people that are not rich and are not even trying to get rich. Look, when you become a teacher, when you become a nurse, when you become a firefighter, when you become a police officer, when you join the armed forces, when you go into the ministry, you know you're not going to become a billionaire doing that. But you do it because you love what you do, and all you want is to make enough money to own a home and to retire with dignity and to leave your kids with the chance to be anything they want to be. That is what makes us special. That is the real American dream. That is the real American dream. And if we ever lose it, we will stop being a special country. The American dream was not an accident. The American dream did not happen on its own. The American dream is the result of the fact that for over 2 centuries, the Americans before us always did what needed to be done. Ours is a nation where for over 200 years, each generation has left the next generation better off. Because for over 200 years, each generation has confronted its challenges. Each generation solved their problems. They didn't leave them for their children. My friends, now the time has come for this generation to do its part. Now the moment has arrived for us in this time to do our part. And I'm asking you for your vote because when I'm President of the United States, this generation will do its part to not just save the American dream, but to expand it. I know that times are tough. I know that many of you are working harder than you ever have and you feel like you're running in place. I know that many of you went to school and got a degree and you borrowed money to pay for it, and now you have a loan but you can't find a job with the degree that you have. I know that some of you have started small businesses and you are struggling to succeed because of taxes and regulations and a stagnant economy. I know that many of you are afraid because every day the news tells you the world is getting more dangerous, but America seems to be getting weaker. I know that this is a difficult time, but I ask you, do not fall prey to fear. Do not fall prey to hopelessness. Do not fall prey to a con job. But believe that this country is always destined to be greater than its past if we are willing to do what it takes. And that's why I'm asking you for your vote, because I am realistic about our challenges. I have lived many of them in my own life, but I am optimistic about America's future. Because I believe, and I always will believe, that God's hand is upon this great land. Because I know that we were founded on the powerful spiritual principle that all men are created equal. Because we are endowed by our Creator with a right to life and liberty and to pursue happiness. When you make me President of the United States, and I am asking for your vote this Tuesday, and I am asking you to go out and find more people to vote for me. Because when you make me President of the United States, we are going to re-embrace all of the principles that made America a great country. When I'm President of the United States, you will have a president for all Americans. No longer will you have a president that divides you against each other on purpose. You will have one that will never ask you to hate another group of Americans. That doesn't mean that we're going to agree on everything. Of course there are going to be people that disagree with me. Of course there are going to be people that say nasty things about me. You know what? We are going to cut their taxes too. When you make me President of the United States, you are going to have a president that loves all of the American people, even the ones that do not love me back. If you elect me President of the United States, you are going to have a president that understands that our rights come from God, not from the government. If you elect me President of the United States, you're going to have a president that will never apologize for believing that all human life is worthy of the protection of our laws. If you elect me President of the United States, you will have a president that will lead us in confronting our challenges and solving our problems. And I want you to know, as difficult as things may seem right now, I want you to know what history is going to say about us if we do what needs to be done. Here's what they will say about us. History will say that we, this generation of Americans, lived in the early years of this new century in a very difficult and rapidly changing time. And it will acknowledge that after 8 years of Barack Obama, this generation almost got it wrong. That this generation almost lost the American dream and what made America special. But then in 2016, we remembered who we were. In 2016, we remembered what America was all about. And we confronted our challenges and we embraced our opportunities. And when our work was done, when we did what needed to be done, our children became the freest and the most prosperous Americans that have ever lived. Because we did what needed to be done, the American dream didn't just survive. It reached more people and changed more lives than ever before. Because we did what needed to be done, the 21st century was even better than the 20th century. It became a new American century. This is what we have a chance to do together. And that is why this Tuesday I am asking you for your vote. And I am asking you to go home now and find everyone you can influence and get them to vote for me. I ask you to work hard for me. I ask you to go on our website and donate whatever you can. Because when I leave here now, we're going to Alabama, and then we're going to Arkansas, and tomorrow we'll be in Virginia. We're going to keep working hard for you, because when our work is done here, in this generation, we are going to leave for our children what our parents left for us, what Americans always leave their children, the single greatest nation in the history of all of mankind. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Atlanta. God bless you. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
If I don't